Hey, super friends, my name is Neil, and welcome to this episode 89 of the Get Your Comic Con podcast. We are here fortnightly-ish to bring you a slice of film, TV, and pop culture goodness from our studio direct to your speakers. I'm flying solo once again this week, but I have a very exciting, very, very short notice podcast as we are celebrating the release of today's first trailer for Warner Brothers and DC's Blue Beetle. This film is coming to UK cinemas on August the 18th, 2023. It was directed by Angel Manuel Soto and written by Gareth Danette Alsosa. It stars Xolo Mariduena as Jaime Reyes, aka the Blue Beetle. You may know him, of course, from Cobra Kai on Netflix. You have Bruna Marquezine, who plays Jenny Core, George Lopez, who is hilarious in this trailer, as Uncle Rudy Reyes, Susan Sarandon as a brand new character known as Victoria Cord, who we will pick up on in a little bit, Harvey Gillen in an undisclosed role, Raoul Max Trujillo as Conrad Carapax, Elpidia Carrillo as Rocio Reyes, Damián Alcázar as Alberto Reyes, Adriana Barraza as Nana, Belissa Escobedo as Milagro Reyes, Lovell Gates as Guard. You can tell I'm reading this from IMDb. Bridget Michelle Bentley as Office Worker, Ocean Ramirez as Nayeli, Walter J. Buck as Security Tech Number 4, Paris Drew as Security Tech Number 2, Brianna Quinn Lewis as Cord Receptionist, George Jimenez, not the artist, as Uncle Jaime Reyes, and Cade Pittman as Black Ops Leader. So this film is a brand new entry in the DC franchise. It is a character who has not been seen on the big screen before. It is all very exciting. Brief logline for this one at the moment reads, a Mexican teenager finds an alien beetle that gives him super-powered armor. No doubt there will be a slightly more lengthy synopsis, which will come out now that the trailer is out in the world. I want to give you my reaction to this trailer, but before I do that, I thought it was worth giving you a little bit more information on the character of the Blue Beetle. There has been a number of them across the comic books. There was Dan Garrett, Ted Kord, and most recently Jaime Reyes, who is the character that we are going to see in this film. The original Blue Beetle was created by Charles Nicholas Wojcicki and Fox Comics, which was later owned by Charlton Comics and then became part of DC Comics later on. Under the Ted Kord kind of era. So Dan Garrett was initially gained his superpowers from a special vitamin, which was later changed to gaining powers from the Sacred Scarab, which then carries through the kind of Ted Kord and Jaime Reyes versions of the character. He was not only in his own comic book, he was also featured in a weekly radio serial when he was first created. And then Charlton would go on to, as a company, would create the second Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, and was then taken over by DC Comics. So Kord is maybe traditionally the more famous version of the Blue Beetle to readers of a certain age. He jumped into DC Comics during the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline alongside a number of the other Charlton Comics characters. He would obviously go on to have his own Blue Beetle series within DC. He lasted, I want to say, for around 24 issues. He never had any superpowers, but had used science to create various devices to help him fight crime, along with the kind of the Scarab history and the iconography of that in his costume. And he has the very famous version of I keep calling it the Beetlemobile. I don't know what it's actually called, or the Bugmobile, but you will see that in this trailer. And I think the whole idea of Ted Kord is going to be very important to the film. He would then be succeeded by the third Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, who is arguably the most famous with the younger generation and the most popular of the Blue Beetles. So Jaime is a teenager who discovers that the original Blue Beetle Scarab morphs into a battlesuit, which allows him to fight crime and travel into space. He's been a member of the Teen Titans. He's had a couple of comic book series. He's currently starring in Blue Beetle Graduation Day, which is unrolling at the moment monthly. I'm pretty sure they just dropped issue number 5, I think it is, of that one. Dave has been reviewing it over on our website, so if you go check out www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk, you can read some of his reviews, but it is a wonderful, wonderful series. And it is also the series which has introduced the character of Victoria Cord, who is a sister to Ted. So she is a new invention just in the last 12-18 months And I believe that has been done in conjunction with this movie as kind of an introduction to her, to give fans an idea as to who she is, a flavour of what she might be about, before making the jump to the big screen, being played by Susan Sarandon in this film, which is very cool. Let's just talk a little bit more about Jaime. So, Jaime was created by Keith Giffen, John Rogers, and Cully Hammer. He made his first appearance in Infinite Crisis number 3 back in February 2006. So he's been around for nearly 20 years. Third character to assume the mantle of the Blue Beetle, substantially different from his predecessors. So it was 1939 when the character was first introduced, so there was a long time before Jaime even came along. And Jaime first appears in Infinite Crisis number 3, and then in issue 5 of Infinite Crisis, which released in April of 2006. That's the first time we see him first suited up as Blue Beetle. In terms of his team affiliations, he's related to the Justice League International, Teen Titans, Young Justice, Secret Six. You will know him from many appearances in different projects. So he, obviously, this is going to be his first time on film, but he has also appeared in Smallville in an episode called Booster. He was played in that by Jaron Brandt Bartlett. So that was the first version of Jaime Reyes in live action. He was a shy, clumsy teenager from Metropolis who was bullied until he bonded with the Blue Beetle Scarab following a traffic accident near Cord Industries. Seeking to find the Scarab, Ted Cord hires Booster Gold to help him, leading to him fighting Reyes before ultimately convincing him to stand up for himself. He also appears in Batman Brave and the Bold. He has quite a few appearances in that cartoon, where he's voiced by Will Friedle, who you will also know as the voice of Batman from Batman Beyond. I nearly called it Batman of the Future. Very British of me. He appears in quite a few different episodes of that, both in the opening stingers, but also in main storylines as well. And he's a very intricate role in the Young Justice cartoon series. So he's voiced in that by Eric Lopez, who voices both Jaime Reyes and also the Scarab as well. So in this version, the Scarab is a similar story. So Jaime finds the Scarab whilst passing by Cord Industries after Ted Cord had sacrificed himself to stop the light. And in this version, there's a lot of back and forth between Reyes and the Scarab. So Lopez is voicing both versions of the character. And he is part of, I want to say he's in the second season. He's most certainly in the third season, where he ends up part of Beast Boy's Outsiders. The character does also appear in Justice League Action, which was a bit more of a short-lived cartoon series. Again, Jaime Reyes' version of the Blue Beetle, and in that he's voiced by Jake Austin. Jaime does also appear in a few of the DC animated movies from across the original version of the universe before they had the big reset with Apocalypse War. So again, it's Jake T. Austin that plays him. He first appears in Justice League vs. Teen Titans. He also shows up in Teen Titans The Judas Contract, and he does have a non-speaking role in Apocalypse War, just as the universe is tied up. And obviously now coming to the big screen, being played by Xolo Mariduena in this movie, hitting UK cinemas on August the 18th, 2023. And I think now is as good a time as any for us to sit down and react to the trailer. So you can actually, this next section of the podcast, you can also check out over on our YouTube channel if you want to watch me watch the trailer, or watch the trailer rather than just hear it, as it were. But let's watch, enjoy, react, and get ready for Blue Beetle.
Excuse me, Mr. Reyes?
First look at Jaime. Okay, so definitely very colourful. Some comedy in there. Cord. It's the family. Big Belly Burger, a good staple of the DC universe. It's George Lopez as Uncle Ray.
Obviously, it clicks into HD halfway through.
First look at the Scarab. Uncle Rudy getting quite involved in the comedy. It's very physical. Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. Great practical effects. And first full look at the suit. Is the suit UI? the suit moves with his mouth as well, so that's interesting. It's going to get more movement in there than, like, for instance, an Iron Man mask. Scene that we've seen a lot of set photography of as he's shooting with the bus. Susan Sarandon. There she is. Wow. Ooh. Blue Beetle mobile. Bugmobile, whatever you want to call it. Giant sword. Giant sword. Anything more? Oh.
It's like Batman stuff. Batman's a fascist.
Well, there were lots of rumours that Batman was going to be in the trailer, so I guess that was as close as it gets. Okay, that was very, very cool. There is a lot to unpack in just that, 2.5 minutes of what we just saw. So the suit, let's start with the suit. We've seen some of it on set from set photos, so we knew that there was going to be a practical version as well as like a visual effects version of the suit. It looks very, very cool in what we've got here so far. The transformation scene when he first picks up the scarab looks like a nice mix again of practical and visual effects. Certainly the way that it was taking over his body and covering over him looked very, very cool from what we could see there. Practically, there was a lot of detail in it as well. It looks very, very faithful to the comics, but has some great textures for the screen. It looks like it's going to work very well in practice. And certainly what you could see maybe slightly later in the trailer as he's fighting with the bus as it was breaking around him, that was a practical version, at least of the helmet, and there was some really cool details in there, so props to the costume designers for doing a really good job. I'm interested to see the movement in there. So as he went up into space, you could see that the mouthpiece was moving, the jawline of the suit, the blue outline was moving, so there's some movement in there which is going to give it more presence on screen, I guess, than what we've seen from other suits like this, where it's very much kind of, you might see shots of the face of the actor inside. If you think kind of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, you very much see him inside and you see the mask outside. This looks like it's going to have a bit of movement from both. The kind of user interface, I guess, for want of a better phrase, looks interesting. We got a few glimpses of that as to what he's going to see when he's inside the suit. That looks suitably alien, which it should, given the history of the scarab. So again, some really nice little production design going on there. Not very much in terms of story outside of the origin. So we didn't see much of Victoria Cord. She is a character who has been newly introduced to the comics recently in the Blue Beetle Graduation Day series, which is unrolling at the moment. I think it just dropped issue 5. I can't remember if it's 6 issues or 12. But it's been going for a few months now, and she's newly introduced in that series, so you can get a flavour for what her character is like if you go and give that a read. It's well worth it. It's a great series, and it's a nice little reintroduction to Jaime, who's been out of the comics for a little while, just in time for the film to be hitting cinemas. Very colourful. Love the production from that aspect. You can definitely feel, I guess, similarities to the first Shazam film in that idea of family and that idea of the comedy within the DC universe as well. This is definitely not an overly serious film. There is some I mean, right from the outset, as Jaime is standing there in that hotel, and then it's clear that he's actually working there. They're obviously playing this for laughs as well as for some superhero action. So I think it's going to be a good family summer crowd pleaser. I think we got glimpses of a lot of the family there. So you've got George Lopez as Uncle Rudy. You've got Elpidia Carrillo as Rocio Reyes. You've got Damián Alcázar as Alberto Reyes. Belissa Escobedo as Milagro Reyes. There's some good humour around the family there. Not just in the scene when he's clearly going to court as if he's looking for maybe a job. And they're all cheering behind him. You've got Adriana Barraza as well as Nana. but also that scene in the house when he opens the Big Belly Burger box and the scarabs there. There's some really, really great physical comedy in there with the whole of the family, so that's very, very exciting to see. I think it looks great so far. That's really exciting. It might only be 2.5 minutes, but we've seen a good slice of the action. It looks like the suit can do some great movement. It's hard to tell whether that was visual effects or, again, a mix of practical and visual, but certainly we saw some hand-to-hand combat, we saw some great weapons, we saw some flying, his wings. Can we talk about the Bugmobile for a second? Now, I would associate that more with the Ted Cord version of Blue Beetle than with the Jaime Reyes version. So let's take a guess that actually when the family gets into Cord at some point, they're going to steal some old Blue Beetle tech. It would make sense to me that if Ted has had the scarab and something has happened to Ted and it's now ended up in the hands of Jaime, that Victoria, so Susan Sarandon's character, is going to want it back. So perhaps there's going to be some espionage at Cord that will see them steal Ted's old Bugmobile. Be interesting to see if there's any flashbacks or anything like that that could show us one of the previous Blue Beetles, or whether they're still going to be in there somewhere, somehow in the story. But I think a great first trailer. I got a sense of who Jaime is. I got a sense of his family dynamic. I got a sense of who the Blue Beetle is as a character and the kind of action and comedy that we're going to get from it. As I have said many, many times in this podcast already, Blue Beetle is coming to UK cinemas this August from Warner Brothers. I am very, very excited. That trailer is so much fun, so colourful, so funny, and I just can't wait to see what they have done with this character. I would love to hear from you as to what you thought of this trailer, so please do find me on social media. I'm at Neil Vag on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find us at Get Your Comic Con on all platforms. Don't forget to check out the latest news over on the website, which is www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk, and I will be back in maybe a couple of weeks with the next exciting thing. We have lots to look forward to. Titans is coming back for its final 6 episodes. The Super Mario Brothers movie is coming to cinemas, so there is a lot to be excited about as we get ready and gear up for summer. So until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will see you very soon. Bye.